Hi everyone, it's Sean Havens with the Benefit Haven. In this video we're going to be going over the Fact Finder. We did a video on the warm-up and now we're rolling through the sales cycle. The next in line is the fact finding process. But before I go into this, make sure you're subscribing to our channel. Give us a thumbs up if you're liking our content so that we know what to bring you. Any comments that you have, if you want a specific maybe help on a situation or product or sales part of the process, we know what to bring you. So if you do that, we'd really appreciate it. It helps us out a lot. So the fact finder, okay, these are the four areas that I've worked with a lot. Now, if you're in a different, if let's say you do life insurance a lot, or you have a different market you're working in, you can kind of just replace this, but it's all going to be pretty much as far as discovery and asking questions and open-ended questions and how you find out what they have. It's going to be really similar, so you can kind of plug in whatever you're working with mainly. Now, we work with a retirement market a lot with seniors 55 and older, but we also work with all types of life insurance, universal life, term, whole life, and annuities and things like that. So we do work with all ages, but we focus on the Medicare and the retirement market. So that's why we're going to put these four areas here, and this is what we're going to go over in this video. Okay, so the first thing on the fact finder is you want to transition from the warm-up, right? So you want to have some type of transitional statement that you know, or they know, that you're moving from the warm-up into the fact finder without actually telling them, right? So, it's been great meeting you. I'm glad we got a chance to talk a little bit, and it's great that, and then whatever you built rapport on, you can kind of hint on that. So now we're going to transition into the fact finder with a statement. So, we can say, what we're going to do today is we're going to go over, the retirement process and all the changes happening and all the questions that you have, and I want to be of service to you now and in the future. So I have to ask you some questions, and do you mind if I write some of these answers down so I don't have to ask you them again? So that's what we want to make sure, that we have some type of transition moving into the fact finder so they know what we're doing, and you're not just writing a bunch of notes without asking them first if that's okay. Right? So they know exactly what you're doing. They're following along to your process. All right, so let's get into it here. These are the four different areas that I go over and my agents go over as far as appointments go. Now, this is the target market. In the last 17 years I've been in the business, these have been the main areas. I've done other things as well, as far as other life insurance, single premium, and all that kind of stuff. But these are the areas that I want to know in the appointment that I go into, and then go from there. Now, if you're in a different market or you specialize in something else, you can kind of just plug these in and you'll see how they uncover kind of the same ways, or what our discovery process, right? So let's go back for a second to the warm-up and how we transition from the warm-up into the fact finder so that your prospect could follow along with you, right? So you're going to ask a question, or you're going to actually say a statement and transition into the fact finder. So you're going to thank them for answering questions and getting to know them a little bit better. And then what you're going to do is, the reason why I came out today, or what I want to go over with you, is there's been some changes going on, or I want to go over your process. So if you have any questions in the future, that I can help you then as well. So that's what we want to go over today. But I need to make sure that to write this stuff down so that I don't forget any questions that I asked you or the answers that you gave me. Would that be okay? So now they're giving you an okay to ask questions and write stuff down. If you just start writing stuff down, they may get a little bit uneasy about what you're doing or what you're writing. So, but if you ask them if that's okay, by just helping them, this is how I can help you. I need to write stuff down first so that I have my notes and I can prepare the right things for you, or answer questions, or know you in the future, so that if you do have any questions in the future, I can answer them that's right for you. So that's what we want to make sure to get on the same page with them before we move forward. Okay, so a transitional statement instead of just getting into it. Make sure we go from warm-up, transition, fact finder. Okay, so now we go to the fact finder here. So Medicare. Okay, so the first step is going to be Medicare in our process. Now at this point we have, if it's them, if they're married, their kids, where they're at, what they've, their job, what they retired at, if they're still working, those are all very important. Okay, because when we go into these things, we talk about insurance, especially with long-term care and things like that, or legacy. It's going to be important to know their family, who's important, if they talk about a grandchild more or talk about a kid more, or things like that, those are all legacy things, okay? So we're already starting to uncover what's going to be important to them at the end, right? So that's why the warm-up's important. Then those specific questions that you're asking in the warm-up are purposeful questions. So they're going to come into play later on. So we've already gotten that information, probably in the warm-up, but if you haven't, make sure that you get where they're from, where their kids are from, where they're at now, and what they've done for an occupation, okay, and if they're retired or not. Because that's also going to tell us whether they have a 401k, whether they have a pension, and things like that. So those are very important to know. And then the first thing we go into is Medicare, because that's probably why they're there. So if you're in the senior market, if you're working with Medicare, you're probably running mostly Medicare appointments, whether they're just updates in Medicare, if you're running, supplements, things like that, or you're wanting to update them on, maybe a current client, whatever it is. Medicare is usually the way we get in the door, that or maybe final expense. But we usually go in with Medicare, and that they change all the time. They change every year, so that's going to be our way in the door. Okay, so Medicare. What do they have? How much are they paying for it? Or do they like it? Do they have any problems with it? Okay, so these are discovery questions about what they have. Okay, it's also data capture. So we want to know, because maybe they like it right now, but in a year, they may not like it anymore. Or the premium increases, we need to go back. So we need to make sure to get all this information down to help them out. Okay, maybe they're paying too much, and now you can save them money here and cross-sell into something else. Okay, so we want to get all that stuff down, and we want to make sure we understand, okay, you have something. You like it? Why do you like it? You don't like it? Why don't you like it? Let them expand a little bit. Is it service that you like? Is it the cost that you're going for? What's important to you in the plan? This is where you also want to find out their health. Okay, what's been some health challenges in the last 3 years? Are you healthy? Do you take any medication? Write those medications down, because those are important. And if you're in the Medicare market, you know that that's a big deal, okay, for a variety of reasons that we'll get into later on. Okay, so this is the first section, Medicare. What do they have? This is what they use all the time too. So this is going to be something that is going to be important if they don't like it, to get that switched right away, because this is what they deal with all the time, okay? So then once you have this, we're gonna go into long-term care, home health care, okay? So you're going to ask them, do they have anything besides Medicare to pay for long-term care or extended care? Okay, so do you know that what Medicare pays for when it comes to long-term care? So get them to explain that to you, okay? Because they probably think that Medicare is going to pay for it, or this is where you're going to, find out what they know. So instead of you just telling them, you're asking questions, right? So the fact finder is designed to ask questions. If you're asking questions, you're in control. Okay, so that's what we want to do. Okay, not in a bad way you're in control. You're in control in a way that you're asking the questions and guiding them down this path to ultimately get to a place where you're taking care of things that they need, right? So gaps and exposures in their coverages that you need to fill now. So that's where long-term care, home health care, assisted living, all that stuff is going to come in. But we first want to know if they have it, if they know what Medicare covers. Okay, now that we want to know their experience. What have they experienced? Mom, dad, friends, brother, sister, have they needed any type of long-term care? Right? So now we're going to get the emotional part in, because that's ultimately why people buy, why they move, why they act. Not because you're telling them, hey, you should buy long-term care. It's because they don't want whatever happened to their family to happen to them. Whether it's they deteriorated and they were depending on their family, or whether they burned through all of their savings and now their spouse has nothing left, or they have nothing left to give to their kids. These are why people buy long-term care, right? So that's going to be important. And once we have all this stuff, we're going to move on. We never want to focus on this and go all the way and not get the other information. And I'll tell you why, okay? Because let's say you're saving them $60 on a Medicare supplement, for example, okay? If you never know that they need final expense as well, they don't have a burial plan, then what's going to happen? You're going to write this, okay, and then you won't have a chance to maybe cross-sell or apply that premium here, and now they don't have a final expense plan or a burial plan, right? Or maybe they want to leave a gift or something. They don't have that because you didn't finish the process. So make sure you finish your fact finding before you go into a presentation. That's very important. Okay, that's how we have multiple sales in the house. That's how we make sure that we're taking care of all the things and we're not just a one-hit wonder selling one thing and being done. Okay, unless that's your marketing or that's your strategy, you're just a Medicare agent, that's fine. Okay, but if you do everything, make sure that you do everything. You go through the whole process and don't stop in the beginning of the fact finder on Medicare. Okay, same thing here. So you got the emotion going, you got all that stuff going, write it down, write some notes down, okay, and then move on. So the next thing we're going to go into is the final expenses, life insurance. What do you have for life insurance? Is it term? Is it whole life? Is it universal life? Is it a final expense plan? Is it a, what is it? How long have you had it? Okay, what are you paying for it? So those are all things that are going to be really important because chances are they don't know what they have. Okay, they maybe got it 10 years ago. I mean, I may have to look at my policy if I got it 10 years ago to know exactly what I have, right? So it's important to review it. When's the last time that you reviewed your policy? Okay, these are things that are all important to ask here. Do you have a will or a trust set up? Why is that important? Well, the two areas that we're going to talk about are going to help in the probate process, right? For life insurance with annuities. So we want to make sure that they have something like that set up, right? So this is where we go into that. We ask all those questions. Now we ask this. This is important, okay? Why did you set up your life insurance? What was it for? Because that's the reason why they bought life insurance. But if they got it 20 years ago or 10 years ago, it's probably for a different reason than they would need life insurance today, right? Maybe they don't need as much. They have less income. When they were working, they had more income. Now they're retired. Their Social Security, everything went down a little bit, maybe a lot. Okay, so maybe they don't want those high premiums anymore, but they still need some. Maybe we can do a 1035 exchange with cashback. Whatever it is, we have to ask those questions. What is the purpose? Why do you think you would need that life insurance? Why did you get it? And what's important to you now? Okay, things change. So that's what we need to go into and ask those questions. With annuities, okay, so I just put annuity here, but that's retirement, that's savings, that's their investments, that's all that stuff, right? But if you're just life and health licensed, then you can just do annuities, fixed and index annuities, not variable, right? So, but that's my favorite anyway. Okay, I never chose to get my securities license because I didn't want to, I didn't need to. I always had financial advisors that I would work with to do that if that's what they needed. Okay, I had plenty to do on my end on the life and health side. Okay, so with annuities, this is great because it's getting bigger and bigger. There's a lot of myths, there's a lot of things that are being debunked now on annuities that people used to say, oh, I hate annuities or this or that. Well, things are coming out where they're safe products. They do a lot of things. They provide income. They provide a great return on the annuities on the initial contract amount. So they're really good plans, and that's a whole nother video that we'll get into as far as the annuities go. But I put that here because this is where we're going to talk about their savings and their income. Why do we need to know their income? Okay, very important to know the income in this area. So, did you qualify for Social Security? About how much is that? Okay, did your spouse qualify or Mrs., did you qualify for Social Security? About how much is that? What about a pension? Okay, did you take out a survivor benefit on your pension? And that's extremely important. And a lot of people don't know. Did they take the highest amount when they had the choice? The middle amount or the lowest amount? So that's important because if they pass and they have a $4,000 pension and no survivor benefit, their spouse loses that entire pension, right? So now, and they lose a lower of the two Social Security. So they just had a significant reduction in their income, which is going to be a big problem, right? How do we solve that? Well, that's in more of the product stuff, but we're going to solve that with life insurance. So it's important to know their income and what's going to happen to their income down the road so we know how to help them. The other very important thing to know as far as income goes is how do we know what plan to offer them if we don't know their income? If you're telling somebody that, hey, premium A is going to be $300 and premium B is going to be $500, and they have a $2,000 gross income, are they going to be able to afford that? Okay. On the other side, if you're telling somebody it's going to be $50 for a $5,000 life insurance policy and their income is $10,000 a month, what's that going to do for them, right? So they're not going to buy it just because it's not enough, right? So if you're a person that just does $50, $50 premiums because that's what you can afford, then you're not doing the best service. Okay, you got to leave your income status at the door and make sure that you're just focusing on them and what they need. Okay, because their income status and their net worth, everything is different than yours, right? So make sure that we're asking that information so that we know what we're going to offer them when we come to a close. Okay, so when we get to that close, we want to be okay. We both understand that you need this. Now, let's see what's affordable. How do you know it's affordable if you don't know their income? Okay, so income is very important here. Okay, and in addition to the income, you want to make sure that you're also getting their asset information, so we know the risk. Okay, what's your risk tolerance? Well, if they say their risk tolerance is maybe 10% or nothing, and they're fully into stocks, they're probably not in line, right? So they may have gotten that 20 years ago, like we talked about over here, but they never changed their strategy when they retired and they don't want to risk it anymore, right? So those are all very important things to ask and to find out in this area, okay? So savings, retirement, income, all those things are important. So at this point, if you want to see the full version of this process and go through and actually have a fact finder that you can use yourself, we do have the mentor, the mentor haven. I'm sorry, that you can join the VIP group where we're going to go through all of this, but an extensive amount and live and do different things for you, where you can actually have the fact finders that we use. We can help you with all that. There's going to be a whole library of extensive trainings on this, plus a community that you're going to be able to bounce ideas off of, get case design, all of that. Right now, we're doing a Facebook group, okay, the Benefit Haven Facebook group, where it's public. You can get on there, and I'll be in there answering questions. You'll have other agents across the country answering questions for you. It could be a lonely place, being an agent, being out there running appointments and being by yourself all the time. So it's important to have community. And if you can have community at your fingertips for agents across the country, just to ask questions, hey, what better way to run your business than to make sure you're out there, running appointments, making sales, but also having that on, you don't have to wait for your sales manager or for your field trainer to answer. You have a community of hundreds or thousands of agents across the country to access information from. So we'll see you in the next video where we're going to go into the transition and into the presentation. We'll see you there.